Well, I'm a little disappointed here. I got a call from the self-proclaimed professional bodyman that was supposed to be doing all the rust repair on this truck. Calls me up this morning and he says, "It's too far gone, I can't fix it for you. There's just too much rust here." He says he's in over his head. And, well, I mean, there's nothing he can do with this. Tells me I'm gonna have to find a better cab. Would have been nice if he'd told me that sooner, you know, before he went ahead and did pretty well all the rust repair on the passenger side here. Kind of puts me in a bad spot. Not only that, but he left my garage in a total state of disaster. Like, just tools everywhere, junk everywhere. This place was spotless before. Even left his lawnmower in here. Definitely not getting that back, you bugger. Well, seeing as how this is my only vehicle and I need it to get to work tomorrow, I'm just going to turn a negative into a positive and I'm going to try to fix it all myself. I mean, really, how hard can all this be? Seen a few YouTube videos, and I watched the body guy pretty closely when he was fixing the other side, so I think I got this here. All it really takes is a positive attitude and you can do anything. Okay, so I just put a couple tack welds in this inner panel here, and now we can move on to replacing this floor and inner rocker panel. This piece here. So I learned on the other side that this piece at the back here, which is supposed to be like the inner cab corner piece, they don't quite make this long enough through here, or at least it wasn't on the other side. And the other problem is the inner cab corner piece, it's rusted like, you know, way further back. So what I did on the other side is I just cut this off and just made a one piece inner cab corner that covers the whole thing. It's just a piece of metal, a flat piece of metal, so it's pretty simple. So we're gonna do the same thing on this side, just hack this off. Then it's cleaner, then it's just all one piece and it's not all spliced together 7,000 different places, or more than it already is. Even though this is all rotted, complete garbage, I am just leaving it here so that I have something to locate the new floor piece to. Otherwise I have no idea where it's supposed to go, but this tells me where it's supposed to go. This cab brace will end up probably getting changed up to here or further depending on how bad it is. Same deal here, just leaving these little trinkets of the old pieces there so that I have something to locate it to. Not a fan of just hacking away everything that's rusty and then starting from completely from scratch, because then I have no idea where any of this is going to go. a bit out of place in this junkyard. Okay, jammed in a couple self-tappers in there, and now all we gotta do is just smear some seam sealer on there, body fill over it, block sand it, and it'll be good to go. Just got this all loosely tack welded in here, and if you've been following along with this project, you know on the other side I just went straight across here. Didn't retain the original bead. That's because it was partially because it was rotted, and also because the other side didn't fit quite as bad as this side did. This side, I don't know, it just wasn't even remotely close. And we could cut and split it and made it fit, but I figured, seeing as how this side isn't rotted out and there's no way this metal is better than original metal, I just zipped it around here. That being said, I did just replace up to here, same as the other side, just for ease of installation, but it was rotted kind of up to here, and then all through in here there was some heavy pitting and pinholes in here. So, and then this is obviously rotted up past the patch panel. So instead of doing like a zigzag thing, and there's no way all these lines are stamped exactly the same as original, so trying to splice through those lines would have just made a mess. So it was easier just to do a straight line there. And that's, again, we're just tack welding this. We don't know if it's exactly right, but I should hope it's right. But just in case it's not, no point in fully welding it. Here's the rear door post, and I just replaced the very bottom of it. The rest of it's all still very solid. So if you remember, on the other side, I had to replace way up to here because it was completely gone, like just gone away. And so technically we probably could have just made this, but I didn't know how bad it was until I took it apart, and I figured I'd rather have the patch panel than have to order it and wait weeks for it to arrive. Anyways, I'm a firm believer in only changing what you have to. So I'm not going to cut out the whole thing and replace it with this, because if you recall on the other side, this piece fits horribly. And so because we only had to use part of it, it's not too bad. But, you know, trying to make all of this fit, it's garbage. So that's the way we're doing that. Next up is cab braces. So we get to fight with that next and try to get these seized in bolts out. That'll be fun. Hey? No? I don't know, you guys are really missing out here. Wish you could be here to help me fix all this rust. So much fun. Okay, well, we kind of glazed over a fair bit here, but it was the same as what we did on the other side, so I didn't really bother filming all of it. Putting a little patch here for the floor, and just patch this in. Everything's just tack welded until we fit the door. Rear cab brace, tack welded in. Again, same deal as the other side. We already got videos on that. Front cab brace. Again, tack welded in, sheet metal screwed and bolted and whatever, just temporarily, till we know the door fits. Front cab brace definitely fits better than the rear one, as we found out. New cab bushings, those of you who are concerned about that. Unfortunately, I did have to fully weld in this piece here, so we're kind of committed to where this is. The problem is the door hinge bolts over where this one was rusted up so high I had to use the entire patch, and then I also had to put a little piece of metal in here because it's rusted up so high. That's the only difference from the other side, is this is already welded, so we're kind of committed. I guess I can always go back and cut it off if I really have to. I did set the rocker panel on and it seems like it's in the right spot, but we'll find out shortly here. So I just learned this great new technique for installing doors. It really simplifies the process, and I thought I'd share it all with you. Door. Install yourself. And it really is just that easy. So a door fits okay on this side. Just trying to get the body lines lined up as best we can. Problem with all these Chevy trucks from the 40s up through 72 when they had the gas tank in the cab. So when they stamp this hole, it kind of just, it causes all the metal around it to sink in. And so they all have this weird, the door sticks out at the top here and it's all kind of misshapen. And so what we did is we kind of just split the difference. So it's kind of out here and it's not quite flush here. And this is out. So I just kind of split the difference between all the various inconsistencies until it's as close as we can get it for, you know, farm truck quality. The only way to really fix this and make it right is drill out all these spot welds, reshape the edge, weld it all back together, and then you'd actually end up with something that's really close. And that's kind of the way, you know, to get it to fit 100%, which we're obviously not doing. Or you can do like all the people building show cars and you can just sculpt it in with Bondo. That's the way it's done on the Riddler cars and stuff. But again, this is just an old truck we're patching up. So I just go for split the difference between all these and try to find the happy medium and try to get the body lines lined up and to a point where nothing's rubbing. And we've kind of got to that stage. So there you have it. If you ever get a chance to look at one of those fancy Riddler type show cars or just any car where it's all like perfectly flush and everything, try and get a close look at the door edge. You'll notice on a lot of them the door edges are like a ½ inch thick, and that's all just from trying to sculpt everything into itself to make it all fit together, which obviously, you know, you wouldn't do that on a something that you're going to be driving because it'll just chip off and whatever, but I guess it works for them on their show cars that just get trailered everywhere. Okay, well, after a certain amount of fiddle-faddling around, I got this rocker panel fitting about as good as it's going to get. Bottom of the door is damaged. Everything's junk. But I think it's kind of in the zone here. We got it clamped in place. I just jammed in a few self-tappers just to hold it in position here. So I think I'm not seeing any issues on the inside with it rubbing or anything like that. It all seems to be happy as can be. So pop this off, weld up all the inners, weld the cab braces in, and weld, then prep the inside, and we can put this on for the last time. If the time and budget allows, we may even weld it on instead of using sheet metal screws and clamps. We shall see. Okay, we got all the inner structure welded, everything on the inside is painted up, and rocker panel is ready to go on. Thought it might be kind of a fun experiment to use the same technique that we used to install the door and see if it'll work to install this rocker panel. Here we go. Rocker panel, install yourself. Well, that worked out all right. Let's take a look at the workmanship here. Okay. Well, I think I know what happened here. We didn't quite specify that we actually wanted this welded. Let's try this again. Rocker panel, weld yourself or I'll murder your entire family. Not trying to sound ungrateful or anything, but when I asked for the rocker panel to be welded on, I kind of also wanted the welds ground down. If it's not too much to ask. There, it's a little better. Is that so hard to do, you putz? You think Kyle went too far when he threatened the rocker panel's family? Let me know in the comment section below. Type Bondo is life if you think he went too far. Type do your best and fill the rest if you think he didn't go far enough and he should have acted on his threats. Thank you. Okay, rocker panel installed. Door still kind of fits. Nice camera work, idiot. Now it's time for a cab corner. Yes, indeed. Cab corner installed. This side wasn't as rusty, thankfully, so I only used the patch like up to about here, yonder, and always only use the smallest amount possible. The less you gotta use, better. Original metal is always better, but our side was rusted up so I had to use more of it and it fit like garbage. But anyways, it is on there. Just a glimpse at the inner workings there, our cab corner installation. Seems to fit decent in relation to the door, so that is good. This one I actually just MIG welded on. This side I actually TIG welded on. And one of you in the last video or one of the recent videos had a good question why I TIG welded it. In this case it was basically convenience. My TIG welder is kind of immobile. I never bought a proper welding cart for it. It's on like an old TV stand and all the wheels are busted off. So I really gotta do something about that here pretty soon. But it was easy to access for the repairs on this side of the cab. But on this side, it's too far away and it was getting late. I was feeling lazy. So out comes the old MIG welder and we just gabbed it on there. Don't really care, it'll be fine. Not sure how that answers your question, but basically, I guess convenience and whatever I feel like doing at the present moment in time is what I do. That's all it comes down to. All right, now we're gonna have a welding party, and some of you are actually gonna be invited. So we're just gonna start at one end here, just MIG weld it all in, MIG weld this whole floor in. It's just tack welded right now. We're gonna start at one end, blast our way across. Just don't care what it looks like, just want to get it solid and sealed up. Pretty easy patch. Just for the record, all of this is covered up by fender and upper cowl panels, so not going to waste time trying to make this nice. Just didn't want a giant hole there, obviously. Greetings from the Carter Hairstyling office, where I'm working on editing this video in the future. What's happened here is I didn't do a lot of recording this week because it was fairly repetitive of what we've already covered in the previous videos, and I was just trying to get things done. So I needed a couple extra minutes of footage for this week's video, and wouldn't you know it, I actually had a plug welding kind of tutorial or something way back in the archives from a couple years ago that never got published. And so I'm just gonna shamelessly recycle that footage in here. We've been doing a whole pile of plug welding on this truck in the last few weeks, and I never really touched on it, I don't think, on the channel before. And I had this little tutorial or something that I did a couple years ago, and like I said, didn't get published, so now is the time to publish it, I guess. So that's what we're gonna watch now, and you might find it useful or you might hate it. You can just skip over it, don't bother me. But yeah, here it is. There's already probably lots of videos on this, on other people doing it. I'm just going to show you the way that I was learned to do it. And you don't have to do it my way, but you can if you like, or you can just sit back and watch and critique, I guess. Now, once again, for this demonstration, we are using 18 gauge sheet metal. And for plug welds, I like to drill a 5/16 hole in the upper layer of whatever you're doing. Now, on some European cars and even domestic cars, there's not enough room to get a 5/16 hole. So in that case, you would do a 1/4 inch hole. But I don't like to use 1/4 inch for if I don't have to, because the 5/16 provides a much stronger weld. If you are doing 1/4 inch holes, just keep in mind that you have to space your welds closer together. And these are about 1.5 inches apart. But typically, if I'm using a 5/16 hole, I'll space them 2 inches apart. But again, this is just a demonstration. Now, if I was doing a 1/4 inch hole, I would go closer. Now let's pretend this is our 5/16 hole, and this is obviously the upper layer, and then this would be the lower layer. And what I do is I start in the center of the hole. I start my weld here, and then I spiral outwards to fill up this area. And that's going to fill up the hole, and you want the entire hole filled up with weld. And I found this is the best way, because when you start in the center, that gives you enough time to get enough heat to penetrate into the base material. And then as you've got the heat there, you can just quickly loop around and it'll fill the whole thing. And this is all pretty instantaneous. You want to get in and get out as fast as possible, so you know it's mostly just a quick zap. But I found if you start on the outer edge, what can happen is the edge will burn away on you, especially if you're doing it on thinner sheet metal. With 18 gauge, this is pretty easy, but you start getting into 22 gauge and even thinner than that, it can get kind of tricky. So you really gotta bring your A game. The other drawback of starting out and working your way in is I find it ends up with a lot ropier weld. And again, when you're plug welding stuff in a visible area, you have to do some grinding and grind it all down to make it look nice. You know, nothing looks worse than a bunch of globular plug welds holding the bottom of a quarter panel on or something. And you know, it's better to kind of smooth that all out or whatever. And sometimes you have to grind them down to get the weather stripping or whatever over the pinch weld. So whatever makes for less grinding is always a good day. So this is start in the center and work our way out. So again, important to keep everything clamped tight. Fitment is key. And I'll get the welder fired up, and then we'll do a little weld here. That's kind of what we're going for.
You can see it's sticking up a little bit, but just quick passes of the grinder would knock that totally smooth. So
when you're welding on a car, most of your welds probably aren't going to look like that. But we do want to completely get the hole filled up. And you know, if it's a little ropey or whatever, that's not a big deal. You can just knock it down. But obviously, closer you get it, the better. So now look, there you can see it's got sufficient penetration. And we also got a nice small heat effect zone. So when I say heat effect zone, I'm talking about the blue area. When the metal starts to change color like that, that means the grain structure has changed, and that's what causes your warping and distortion and whatever. So smaller that is, while still maintaining a strong, fully penetrated weld, is kind of what you're going for. One other thing I forgot to mention is I'm holding the welder basically directly vertical to this. I'm not holding it at a weird angle or anything. I want all of this heat concentrated going directly down and penetrating into that metal. So other thing I'll mention is when you're doing welds along an edge like this, which is a pretty common area for there to be plug welds or spot welds, is you want to try to go in as far as you can, because if you end up with something like this, you can see this is very close to the edge here. What will happen is this will burn away on you as you go to weld, and then you'll end up with having to go back and touch it up, or you know, the whole edge just blows away on you if it's thinner metal, and then you got a real mess to clean up there. So I kind of set this one up intentionally to show you what will happen. Could have pulled that off and left it, but I kept the trigger there for a second longer, and as you can see, it blew this away, which doesn't look very nice. And now what happens is when this blows away, all that material on the edge ends up getting puddled into this weld, and now we've got a pretty ropey weld to clean up. And not only that, but now we've got an edge with a weird divot in it, which doesn't look very nice. So it just, this looks, you know, far better than this does. Again, this isn't a big deal, but you know, if we don't have to deal with this, then why would we want to? Firewall, done. Floor pan, done. Cab corner, done. LS swap. Leaving that for the next guy.
cab braces, yes.
Rocker panel, installed. S10 frame swap, no. I'd like to say we're done welding on this cab, but that is simply not the case. Still need to put a patch hole in along the bottom, just a small patch there. It's all rotted away. Probably not going to film that. It's pretty generic stuff there, and I just really got to get this thing done. We will be filming the removal of these crack holes here. They're on both sides of the cab. So what we'll probably do there is like a full kind of patch panel from start to finish. Show the whole process, because we haven't done a video like that in a while, and we got a bunch of newcomers. And as you've seen lately, I've just been hammering stuff together as fast as possible and just letting it do its thing. But I guess for all the new folks around here that have kind of been like, I've had people saying like, what the heck are you doing welding this stuff in so fast? And it's because I don't care, but I'd kind of like these to turn out half decent, so I'll show my process for MIG welding in a patch like this without completely destroying it, hopefully. That'll be our next video on this truck anyways. Really pushing hard to get this thing out of here. I'm sick of working on it, you're sick of watching it, we're all sick of it, so we got to get this thing done. We've only got probably a couple weeks here before snow flies. Just wanted to go on camera here before we leave and let everyone know that the hostilities with that shed by the tracks character have come to an end. So to that angry mob that's been camping out in front of his shed, first of all, I just want to say thank you. But you all can now disperse Shed by Trucks character and I, we had a long series of discussions and negotiations, and we decided to, well, he admitted that I was right the whole time, as we all knew. So we kind of decided to reunite our forces against the real enemy.